And hello, everyone. It's Fred Staab. Les Jackson is out today. He's feeling a little under the weather, so we wish him good spirits and to feel a lot better and be back very soon. In the meantime, we're going to talk about Kia and their Niro Trio. They've got a hybrid, a plug-in hybrid, and an EV. There's a few updates for 2024. We'll talk about pricing on those. The UAW strike continues, and it's not only continuing, it's spreading. We'll talk about that. And then we're going to discuss Gigacasting. Interesting article in The Drive about Gigacasting. It's something that Tesla sort of took the lead on, has had some problems with. Now Toyota is looking into using gigacasting to reduce the complexity of their vehicles, but will that lead to vehicles that can't be repaired? And then Lexus says it has a 500-mile range EV ready to go, going to be revealed. Remember, Lexus and Toyota have been talking about big improvements in batteries and range and rechargeability, and so we'll talk about that. And finally, Bob Gritzinger from Wards Auto will join us with the rundown of Wards' 10 best engines and propulsion systems for 2023. Propulsion system is the term you're going to be hearing a lot of. It means electric or hydrogen power or fuel cell. So we'll talk to Bob about that. It's all coming up on Cruise Control, so stay tuned.
In five.
This is Cruise Control.
Your on-air automotive magazine with co-hosts Fred Staab and Les Jackson. Everything you need to know about
New and used cars.
industry news. We'll fix or repair your car on the air. Fasten your seatbelts and let us take the wheel. Now, your ride is about to begin because you're on
Cruise Control. Cruise Control. Cruise Control.
That's right, you are on Cruise Control. Welcome, everyone. It's Fred Staab and normally Les Jackson. Les Jackson's feeling a little bit under the weather these days, so we wish him a quick recovery and get back to the show as soon as possible. But I'm going to take you on a ride around the automotive world, and we start with some news from Kia. We are going to take a look at the Kia Niro Trio, which, of course, they offer a hybrid, a plug-in hybrid, and a full electric vehicle. So some news there, some updates. Great vehicle, gets 53 miles to the gallon. I had reviewed this a while back and was very impressed with it. So we'll look at some of the pricing for 2024, and see what's up with that model. Also, the UAW strike continues and starts to spread to other plants. Could the Corvette plant be one of those plants that it will affect very soon? We'll talk about that, and if you have a Corvette ordered and you've been waiting, it's probably not news you want to hear. Gigacasting. What is it? Well, it's casting major components in a vehicle and kind of making them easier to build and reducing complexity. Tesla's done it. Of course, they have some casts with cracks in it, but looks like Toyota is looking at getting into gigacasting. Could this lead to vehicles that cannot be repaired if you get in an accident? We'll talk about that. And Lexus says it's got a swoopy new EV crossover about to debut. Well, that's good news, but here's the even better news. It has 500 miles of range, and it could be the first of many vehicles from Toyota and Lexus that have incredible range and can be recharged very quickly. Remember, they said in a few years they'll have battery-powered vehicles that will have a 750-mile range and will recharge in about 20 minutes. So we'll talk about that. And we're also going to talk about Ward's 10 best engines and propulsion systems. Propulsion system, that's a big thing you're going to be hearing a lot more about as we discuss electric vehicles. Bob Gritzinger from Wards Auto is going to run down that list of the 10 best engines and propulsion systems that they've picked for 2023. And Bob's always great to have on the show. He'll be coming up in a little bit. All that and more on Cruise Control when we get rolling on Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. In the meantime, don't forget to check us out at our YouTube page or Cruise Control Radio YouTube page and on Facebook as well. We're out there on social media, and we always like to hear from you. If you've got a request for a story you'd like us to cover or a vehicle you'd like us to review, we can get that done. So make sure you drop us a note or drop us a note in our live stream as well. Coming up, as I said, we're going to take a look at Kia's Niro. And I think this is one of the vehicles, when it got a redesign, it really woke it up. Before, nice vehicle, but a little bit plain. But nowadays, it's a lot cooler looking. And we'll talk about that and the pricing of the plug-in hybrid, and EV models when we come back on Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. Be right back.
Cruise Control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine with Fred Staab and Les Jackson. Les is off right now, feeling a little under the weather, so we wish him well. We're going to talk about a trio of vehicles from Kia, and this is an interesting model, the Niro. I was out on the reveal of this model a number of years ago, and it was designed by the designer of the Soul. And when it first came out, it was very plain. It was just a plain-looking vehicle. I mean, certainly a fine vehicle, but very plain. They've amped it up, and last year they completely redesigned it. They have that aero blade on the side, which allows air to go around the vehicle, helps with some of the aerodynamics, and just looks cool, especially when it's in a contrasting color. And it's basically a great little station wagon. I would call it a low-roof crossover. And the neat thing about it, probably one of the very few vehicles that does this, is it's available in a hybrid, a plug-in hybrid, and a fully electric version. And we're going to talk about some pricing for 2024 for the hybrid, which starts at a very affordable $26,840 for the LX. The EX bumps up to $29,540. The EX Touring, $31,840. The SX at $32,940. And the SX Touring at $35,240. And this is for the hybrid, the non-plug-in model. The great thing about this vehicle is it gets 53 miles to the gallon. And I know it does because I've actually reviewed it and was able to obtain that on the highway and was very, very impressed with it. So not a lot of horsepower, 139 horsepower, 195 pound-feet of torque. It's got a 1.6-liter gas direct injection engine. However, with the hybrid boost, it never felt slow. So I was very happy with this vehicle. And that is just kind of the start of the lineup, because the next one is the plug-in hybrid version, and we have some detail on that. Now the plug-in hybrid actually gets a pretty big boost in horsepower, 180 horsepower, 195 pound-feet of torque. And it also is capable of driving on a fully electric charge of about 32 miles, 33 miles, all electric range. So a total range of 510 miles, which is very impressive. And basically the same vehicle as the hybrid, but adding a battery, a larger battery, and ability to plug it in. Great thing about a plug-in hybrid, by the way, is you don't really need any fancy charger. You can literally plug in to your wall socket with the charger that comes with the vehicle, and you can charge it basically overnight. That 33-mile range battery. Of course, as soon as that battery is depleted, it becomes a hybrid, and you're back driving again. It happens seamlessly. I've done that on highways where the battery charge runs out and the gas engine just starts. So you got two options there as far as trim levels. EX is $34,290. That's the base. And then SX Touring is $40,040. And you pay a little price on the mileage, but let's face it, you're still getting 48 miles to the gallon, and that probably decrease in miles per gallon is due to the weight of the larger battery. But still really great mileage. Now, if you want to go all electric, Kia has that for you too. They have a all electric version, and it is quite impressive, actually. A little bit pricey, frankly, compared to some of the other ones, but you do get 235 miles of range, and not too bad on the pricing. There's the Wind and the Wave. $39,600 is the start of the scale of pricing. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we come back on Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. I'm Fred Staab. Les Jackson is off this week. We will be right back, so stay tuned to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. We'll be right back.
Cruise Control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. Fred Staab with you. We were talking a little bit about the Kia Trio, and we'll wrap that up with the Kia EV. They announced pricing on that. Wind, $39,600. Wave, $44,600. Not terrible when you figure you will get a pretty big discount probably off of that. I think there's a federal discount of $7,500 still on Kias. 201 horsepower, and the range, I believe, is 235? 253. Okay, even better. 253 from a 64.8 kilowatt hour battery, which is not bad at all. Not bad at all. One thing we've been talking a little bit about on the show is the UAW strike, as it is what they call a stand-up strike. And they're rolling it out little by little to other plants. And there has been some plants have had to close down or cut back because they just can't get parts from some of the striking facilities. So that has kind of been an offset of the strike, with people not even out on strike. They end up having to be out of work because of that. It's basically spreading little by little. They're amping it up, the UAW, and one plant that may be affected is the Corvette plant in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and that certainly can't be great news to people that have been waiting for Corvettes for 2 years or more. There's also some talk that they have some good progress with Ford, so I don't know how that works, if they can make a deal with Ford, and then if the other manufacturers like Stellantis and GM fall in line with that deal, or if they have to make an individual deal with each one. I don't know how that works, but that's kind of a little bit of an update on the UAW strike. The other thing we want to talk about is kind of a talking tech segment. It's called Gigacasting, and it is basically making a large casting of a part of a car. For example, in Toyota is looking at doing this. They're saying that traditional methods of assembling a vehicle require 86 parts, 33 steps, and hours of an assembly, but they could gigacast an assembly in a mere 3 minutes now, and it would be able to handle all of that work of those 86 parts and 33 labor steps. This has been done before by Tesla. However, we did a story not that long ago about how somebody opened up one of their closeout panels to look at their brake cylinder, and they found big cracks in one of these cast assemblies. And so far, Tesla said that's fine, but it raises some questions. This from an article by James Gilboy in The Drive, that was on The Drive. The other question is, would these gigacasted assemblies, which basically could be so deeply integrated into your vehicle that they couldn't be replaced, can they be repaired? And it could mean that more vehicles could be totaled if that casting is damaged, and it might not be able to be repaired. They can't do a pull on the car. They can't, hitch it up to chains and pull it out and reshape it. It is cast, and really, if it is broken or cracked, there's nothing too much you can do about that. So we're going to keep our eyes on the idea of gigacasting and see where it goes. Certainly for manufacturers, you think about this, the reduced complexity of electric vehicles as far as manufacturing, and then you're using things like gigacasting to reduce all that work down into 3 minutes. Certainly, it kind of ties in with the UAW story because they're going to need a lot less people eventually to assemble vehicles. So a lot of things going on there. We'll keep you up to date on Cruise Control. The other thing I wanted to mention, it was announced this week that actually at a recent Lexus showcase event in Japan, that they will be revealing a very swoopy crossover, electric crossover, and it will have a 500-mile range. Now, if you recall, Toyota and Lexus have talked about how they're going to revolutionize electric vehicles in the coming years. They're talking about ranges of 500, 600, even over 700 miles of range, and being able to recharge these batteries within 20 minutes. This could be the first of the early reinvented battery-powered vehicles. And at a 500-mile range, I mean, that is pretty significant. Les and I talked about this last week, that if you can have vehicles that have a 700-mile range, you may only have to charge them once a month, depending on how much you drive. And if they're at 700 now, will they eventually get 1,000, 2,000 miles, and will they be able to recharge them quickly? You may have a vehicle that stays charged for 2 months and gives you enough driving range. So that would reduce the need for excessive chargers. Interesting technology. I certainly also, one area I think that's interesting is there's the talk of the 2035 banning of gas-powered cars. And this, if you can do hybrids, that have plug-in capability. And what if they had a range of 150 miles themselves? Well, they might not be banned. So we'll see what happens in 2035. But battery technology is changing, and it is getting even more extensive. And it is, if you can charge these things in 20 minutes, I think that's pretty amazing. Hey, coming up, we got Bob Gritzinger from Wards Auto. He's going to talk about the 10 best engines and propulsion systems of 2023. It's interesting, propulsion system, obviously it's talking about EVs. I guess it would also talk about fuel cells or hydrogen power, but it's a term you're going to be seeing a lot more. I've noticed it everywhere. Even at the SEMA show, they're going to have a future propulsion system display, and that is just a term you're going to hear a lot more when we talk about, well, probably next year. We'll ask Bob when he comes on. Next year, it might just be the 10 best propulsion systems. That will include engines, but it will also include EVs as well. So we will stay tuned for that. Bob has got a lot. It is quite a diverse list. And hey, Bob, I'm going to just have you jump on a little early here before the break. Certainly a big, diverse list of vehicles here this year, right?
Well, yeah, we're looking at 4 ICE, pure ICE vehicles, 3 BEVs, 1 hybrid and 2 plug-in hybrids. So no hydrogen, no fuel cells this year, but a very diverse list, and including everything, I think, from I'm not sure the 3 cylinders still on here, but all the way up to big V8s.
Yeah, you know what's amazing to me? There are some 4-cylinder engines that are making 300, 400 horsepower, and that was just something for an exotic race car, basically, in the past.
Yeah, 200 plus horsepower per liter helped put the Mercedes C43 AMG on the list, for instance.
Yeah, amazing stuff. And Bob is going to be back after the break, and he's going to run down that full list because it's got everything on there from Mustangs to Lucid Air. We don't want to give away the list, but we're going to run them down one by one, and Bob will tell you what makes them great, basically, because it's quite a list, Bob, and it just gets more interesting every year.
As we go, yes.
So
we'll be back.
All right. We will be back after the break. I'm Fred Staab. You're listening to Cruise Controls. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hey, we figured we'd talk to Bob a little bit during the break. Bob, always good to have you on Cruise Control, and it is always fun having you on Cruise Control.
Well, and we've been busy this time around with, we had 32 nominees this year. Pretty huge field, not unusual, but it does show us that there are just a ton of new powertrains, new propulsion systems that are entering the market. Again, we only consider new or significantly revised powertrains for consideration. And it's hard to tell somebody, no, we're not going to consider that engine, even though it's all new. So we had multiple entries from some automakers, and this year, no one picked up more than one award. It's a totally diverse list.
All right. Well, we're going to come back with our live show, so stay tuned.
Cruise Control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. Fred Staab with you. Les Jackson is off. He's feeling a little bit under the weather. But we're glad to say that we have Bob Gritzinger from Wards Auto with us to run down the 10 best engines and propulsion systems of 2023. Bob, how are things at Wards Auto?
We're extremely busy. Obviously, a lot going on in automotive. The transition from ICE to electrics. We've got a little nationwide strike going on.
Yeah.
That is directly, in some ways, related to that transition. And so a lot happening. Absolutely.
Well, it's certainly true. We were just, before you came on, we were talking about gigacasting. Of course, Tesla's done that, and it could basically take a procedure that takes 86 parts and 33 hours of work and take it down to 3 minutes. So that's a big. Of course, it might have cracks in it, like Tesla does on some of their cars, but it will get better, and it's a big game changer for people that build cars, isn't it?
Well, and that's in the architecture, the chassis, but consider the same effect for engines and propulsion systems, going from 2,000 parts to drive a vehicle down to 2, 3, I guess 6 or 8 if you include the entire drivetrain out to the wheels.
Well, let's talk about the first vehicle on your list, and we're going to start with the Toyota Prius Prime. I drove this vehicle. I liked it a lot. It is really restyled, and a lot of people think it actually looks kind of cool.
Well, and for our purposes, it's also leaves the Prius of the past in the dust.
Yep.
I mean, when have you been able to say that a Prius actually pushed you back into the seat?
Oh, yeah.
With its propulsion system.
Yep.
And now this does it. They don't give us a total torque figure combining the 2-liter 4-cylinder with the electric motor, but total output is 220 horse. They list torque from the engine at 139 pound-feet, but if you add electric motor, I think we could do some estimates maybe, but I'm guessing this is somewhere in the area of 350 pound-feet driving the wheels, which is unheard of in a Prius. And then add to that this vehicle will go, something like 39 miles on a charge.
Yeah.
And so that's why the Prime ended up on our list versus the standard Prius.
Well,
both really good.
Yeah, both really good. And, I'm a big fan of plug-in hybrids, and we were talking a little bit about the new battery tech that is being teased by Toyota. And also, some of these plug-in hybrids may even go beyond 2035, because now with this battery tech, they can get over 100 miles or potentially over 100 miles of all-electric power. And then go into the gas-powered version. So,
right, which would allow them, for instance, to be allowed to have an internal combustion engine in the California market,
which would be great. Which
drives another, a dozen states, right? Or
yes,
I don't know how many.
Yeah, something like that. Yes. Well, let's talk about the next one on the list. I have not driven this one yet, the Area, but I'm looking forward to it. And what did you like about it?
Well, first of all, we drove the E-Force, the 4-wheel drive, the all-wheel drive version, and if I can, give me a sec to pull up the specs here. But what's unique, aside from 389 horse, 442 pound-feet of torque, 257-mile range, this vehicle uses externally excited synchronous motors, which means no permanent magnets.
Okay.
So it's producing that power and a drive quality that had been hard to hit without permanent magnets.
When
And
when you
go
say
ahead.
when you say drive quality on an EV, what do you mean? What stands out to you?
Non-permanent magnet motors used to not have the low end torque.
Okay.
Permanent magnet motors just rip off the line, as we know. But without the magnets, without that ability, you have to put a lot of power in at the low end to get magnetism in both the rotor and stator to create that power. Nissan has created a propulsion system that can do that. Others have used a combination of permanent magnet for low end and then the externally excited or squirrel cage motor for higher speeds. But in this way, they get away from any power losses due to magnet drag.
Okay.
I would call it at higher speed. So you're not hauling around those magnets. You're not dependent on rare earths, and on top of it all, it's a great driver.
Let's talk about something completely different from Mercedes. This is an AMG model, the AMG C43. It's got one of those hot 2-liter turbocharged 4 cylinders that they're pulling incredible power out of, right?
Correct. Let's see what. This is 402 horse, 369 pound-feet, 202. Think about it, 202 horsepower per liter. We know the Mercedes AMG people are really good at getting lots of power out of bigger engines.
Right.
It's always been V10s, V12s,
Right.
big V8s, and now they're applying that kind of expertise down to this 4-cylinder, and wow, is it a blast?
I bet. And when they go all electric, that right now, of course, one person builds the engine and signs it. Do you think one person will build the motor and sign that too?
It depends on what they do with them. They have. I guess we could go out and look at if I had a picture of it here, the EQE AMG propulsion system that I just drove recently. I'm not sure that the location is there to sign it. What would you be signing?
I don't know.
Right?
I don't know. It's hard to say. But
a motor under a hood or down on an axle somewhere. Yeah,
maybe
I don't. It's going to be different.
Now let's talk about the Lucid Air. This is a vehicle. Whenever people see it, and it's rare, their jaw drops. They love it, and it is, I believe, still the current range leader, right?
Yes, and in our case. This is one of I want to say this might be our only returnee this year. The Lucid Air was on the list last year. Actually, Hyundai Ioniq 6 counts because it's the same powertrain coming back from the Ioniq 5, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Lucid Air this year in a dual motor, all-wheel drive propulsion system, 620 horse, 885 pound-feet of torque. The thing just absolutely is a thrill ride. But at the same time, this isn't the long-range vehicle. The vehicle gets over 500 miles of range in a long-range setup. Ours was a mere 425 miles.
We'll be right back with
but-
more Bob after this. Stay
Okay.
tuned.
Good.
Cruise control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control. Fred Staab, along with Bob Gritzinger from Wards Auto. We are running down the 10 best engines and propulsion systems of 2023. Bob, we've got plenty to get to, so I want to go to this one. It is just one of the coolest looking cars. I think aerodynamics played a huge role in it. But why did you pick the Hyundai Ioniq 6 to be one of the 10 best engine and propulsion systems?
Probably maybe outside of the Lucid and price-wise, probably the best electric propulsion system out there.
Wow.
In terms of power and range capability. And this is another return winner. The Ioniq 5 had this powertrain last year. This year it comes back in the 6, and we don't find anything to knock it off the list.
I say a lot that Kia and Hyundai could be one of the big leaders in electric vehicles. They're just out there, and they, the prices are not too bad, and they have some very interesting vehicles, don't they?
Knocking it out of the park. This one is $57,000, which is, tall for a lot of buyers, but not bad compared to the market and electric vehicle market.
All right. Well, let's talk about one of my favorite cars. It's been around for a little bit, and it's updated. Honda Accord Hybrid. Kind of have your cake and eat it too. A smooth riding car, kind of a traditional sedan, but gets great MPG.
Yes. This is the new Accord Hybrid powertrain. So, not to be confused with the past two motor system. This one sets up the motors side by side, so there's space for a larger motor, which gets you more power. And again, this is great range, tremendous fuel economy, and EPA is 46 city.
Wow.
So hard to argue with that. When anytime Honda comes with a new Accord Hybrid, it's probably going to make the list. This was in the CRV to start, and we couldn't get the CRV in time last year. So this is our first take on this propulsion system.
Yeah. And it's just a great car, Accord, and just keeping up with it. Once again, something completely different. Ford Mustang Dark Horse, the Coyote lives on, and I know they're trying to keep it around for quite some time, aren't they?
Well, yeah, and in this case, they gave us the Dark Horse, which gives us the maximum power possible. In this case, nearly 100 horsepower per liter from a naturally aspirated engine. It's always been possible to amp up the power in these, Shelby GT500, throw in a supercharger on it and crank the power way up. But in this case, They put dual throttle bodies on, so I tell people I liken it to dual quads of the past, or tri-power or something.
Yeah.
I mean, it has to take some tuning to get those intakes to work on and to collectively, but boy, does it work! Sounds great, and in this case, I believe we were driving the 6-speed manual version, and it was over the top.
Now let's move over to another performance brand, but a little bit different vehicle. Les Jackson drove this. He thought it was pretty nice, actually. The Hornet RT.
Right. We tested a couple of the new Hornets. The whole idea of muscle without a giant Hemi V8 under the hood may seem the antithesis of muscle car, and certainly plug-in hybrid, has to send people scurrying for the hills. But in this case, this is a 1.3 liter turbo 4-cylinder.
Wow.
Making great power combined with an electric motor, all together giving you 288 horse, 383 pound-feet of torque. And, when you're driving on gas, it's 23 city, 29 highway.
Okay.
But you also get in the area of 31 miles of range, pure electric.
Not bad.
It's a muscle car. It kicks.
Well, here's a car that kicks.
I forgot about the power boost. The power shot button in the Hornet just puts it over the top. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Jump to that winner.
That kicks. This one kicks too a little bit, right?
Yeah. And in this case, how do you argue with Corvette or Chevy engineers, GM engineers going out and benchmarking Ferrari and outdoing them for half a third of the price? 5.5 liter double overhead cam V8, 670 horsepower. Lord, 460 pound-feet, and again, no superchargers, no turbos, naturally aspirated.
Oh, natural.
Yeah, and mid-mounted, and just a fantastic vehicle. I know when Mark Royce was doing some track testing with this, and he mentioned it on Facebook, and I said, I need this for 10 best, and he said, oh yes, you do. so
you just don't take it to that one dealer that dropped it off the lift. Did you see that footage? That was terrible.
Oh, I don't even want to know what somebody could have done with something like this. Ours was gorgeous.
It was a physics lesson, and if you have too much weight in the back, and don't have the lift in the right place, something bad will happen. Hey, let's BMW kind of tops the list with their M2 and wild rear fenders on this. Really, it looks like somebody set this up for road racing.
Just like Mercedes AMG, BMW doesn't mess around when it comes to their M products, and this one in this case, 3 liter, inline 6, 453 horse.
Wow,
fabulous engine.
They've built a few of those engines, those inline 6s, haven't they?
But this one is new. This is a new 6, so not to be confused with things from the past.
Yeah. I always wondered, and, I kind of got my answer, but I always wondered why wouldn't someone drop something like that into a street rod or a resto mod? It would be crazy, wouldn't it?
Well, sure, yeah.
But
now they're doing electric motors instead. So
yes.
What's left?
Yeah, I think that is the full list. That is the
Did
2020.
we get there?
We
made it?
did. We did. The 2023 Wards 10 Best Engines and Propulsion Systems. They're going to be awarded to
October
18th. Yeah.
in Detroit. Yep, big. It's basically the Academy Awards for engineers, for propulsion engineers, and we expect a big crowd this year. A lot of diversity, a lot of different companies, and we're loving propulsion.
All right. Well, Bob, we really appreciate it. Bob Gritzinger from Wards. Time for me to say I'm Fred Staab. We will see you down the road.